Good afternoon to you, snooker fans, and welcome to this post UK Championship edition of the 15 Red podcast with myself, Scott McCarthy, in Northern Ireland, and I'm joined fresh from our brief sojourn in York by Kelly Barker. Good afternoon, Kelly.
Good afternoon, Scott. Hope you're doing well and enjoyed another great edition of the UK Championship. Um, yeah, really good week. A fantastic winner in Mark Selby, who really looks back to his best at times. And yeah, he was a pleasure to watch and was the right man won the trophy.
Certainly, yes. I mean, he his all round game was absolutely exceptional. We'll come to maybe reasons why the scoring wasn't quite as high as we come to expect at certain tournaments, but um, but Selby was the deserved winner all week, and certainly the deserved winner in the final. I mean, when he went 5-0, we all thought, I hope we're in for an early night here, but fair play to Trump for getting it back. But all the same, I think Selby rather let him off the hook rather than him improving. Trump improving, that is, by the way.
I think that's a fair description, actually. I think if Mark had carried on the way he started those first five frames, no one could live with him. And Judd didn't do too much wrong early on, I didn't think. But the pressure came on, and he did force mistakes. But Mark was absolutely at his best, and yeah, I think we're going to talk about the tighter pockets of the tournament. And I think that really helped the top player because, as so often is the case in the UK Championship, the best players rise to the top. And it usually is one of the very top guys who go home with the trophy because they're just, that good. And the UK has always been one of, in some ways, more than the World Championship. The world has had the odd surprise winner over the years, but the UK often doesn't. It really is one of the top guys or all the top guys really, who make the later stages. So
Yes, well,
yeah.
well, you mentioned there the semi-finals, and we'll get to discussing them in more detail in a moment. But I wanted to throw this at you as a bit of a question. In 2009 was the last time the four semi-finalists were previous winners. Can you name them?
Oh, 2009. Oh, you've thrown this one at me, Scott. Was that a Ronnie and Higgins semi-final?
Was, yes. So that's two of
And
them.
2009. I would have been at the final.
Halford, of
Um,
course, yes.
It's Telford, yes. 2009. I do remember the Higgins Ronnie semi final. I will bow to your better knowledge on there, Scott.
And Stephen Maguire, because Ding beat John in the final, of course.
Oh, right. Yes. Yes, I didn't have chat. I think I probably would have thought of it eventually, but off the top of my head, Ronnie and Higgins came straight away. But yeah, it just shows the standard, doesn't it, of the very top players doing the best. But it wasn't just in York. The event started in Wigan the week before, a week of qualifying. And I thought, I think this qualifying week, as with Sheffield, Scott, I think it's as good a week of snooker as almost any other tournament, really. Shocks and a few shocks in the qualifiers. We had Chris Wakeling, who was the highest seed in the qualifying, didn't make it through. Jack Lazowski didn't make it through. But a few youngsters did do well. I enjoyed watching Artemis Zizins. He won a couple of matches. But the thing for me with the qualifying was those 2-1-4-7s from Liam Pullen on the first day. He played a cracker of a double on the 15th red. Um, and a few days later, Chang Bing Yu. I think it was his in Judgment Day, maybe against Maguire,
Oh,
but
pardon me.
his final black with the rest to make his 147 was just something else.
Yes, I mean, there's only one other contender for that for the best final black ever, I think, and that was Mark Selby's 100th maximum or the 100th maximum in competition in the 2013 UK semi-final against Walton. You remember that the final black
Is-
was
was that the black into a centre pocket?
yes, that was
Yes, I do.
tremendous.
I remember that one as well. Yes, I was in the crowd for that one actually. Yeah, that was a tremendous day. We won't forget that one in a hurry. Look it up, guys, if you haven't seen it or don't remember it. But yeah, Changbing used black was absolutely. I mean, not often you'd have to use the rest for the final black actually of a 147 because by the time you get to the colours, it's usually a bit more straightforward. But it was a tremendous black, and to see the break. I mean, I think I called the 147 actually very early on, or possibly like one red and black. I thought, oh, we've got a chance here, but you do fear the worst when it gets down to the colours and it got a black like that. You think, oh goodness me, but tremendous stuff. And yeah, so it's a good week of qualifying, and then we had. I was at York for the first 3 days, which were really, really enjoyable. And for me, the first Saturday afternoon, we had Judd against Stephen Maguire, which was a really good game actually to get the tournament going. Judd won 6-4, I think.
Yep,
Um,
6-4, yes.
and I really enjoyed that one, but immediately we could see that the pockets were slightly tighter than they have been, certainly in the Chinese events. But I don't think it did the tournament any harm. I think it became a real truer test of abilities. And yeah, Judd came through that one to move into the last 16. And yeah, really, really good time there, Scott. And good 3 days of snooker.
Yes, well, uh, from uh, from what I hear, York is a marvelous city as well. So a good all-round experience, I think there. But yes, I rather agree with you. And John Parrott was making the same point on the BBC last night that you know you're you're meant to be a top player at a professional sport. It's not meant to be easy. So if the pockets are slightly tighter, that actually rewards excellence and accuracy. So yes, I rather agree with you. It doesn't detract from any uh, possible drama really. I know the centuries might be down a bit, but you know, if you ask Terry Griffiths in 1982, when he won the UK, did he care about making centuries? He would have said not at all.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree. And I hope that at least in the British events, we do get these more competitive pockets, shall we say. Um, yes, but I think it really proved the true test, and it was good to see. And all the top players seemed to say that they were enjoying the tighter pockets. It made for a fairer contest as well. But we didn't. But as the UK Championship often throws up, we didn't see that many shocks. But Pang Junzhu was a somewhat surprise winner through to the quarterfinals, and he was the only one to reach, only qualifier, I think, to reach that far.
Yeah.
But we had some blockbuster ties. But then, Scott, we got down to these semi-finals, and it was just, you know, Judd against Neil Robertson first off, and then Murphy v Selby. We were in. We knew we were in for a fantastic weekend before the games were played.
Well, I mean, you and I were sort of messaging back and forth, going, "Dear me, this is marvelous." But also the thing of it is that again, this is my sort of statistical nerdery coming out here, but there's always one match from the rivalries that you remember. So for like Trump and Robertson, the match for me that I always remember is the 2019 Champion of Champions final. Then with Selby and Murphy, it's the Crucible semi final in 2007 and the final in 2021. So, there are big matches they played before and they've been good. So, based on previous history, we were bound to get good matches, and that's certainly what happened.
It certainly was, and all players who've done the Triple Crown as well. So we knew we were in for quality. But the first semi final, Saturday afternoon, Judd beat Neil Robertson 6-3. Defending champion Judd, he was back feeling good again with his old cue, which he seemed to have, gone back to like an old friend, it was said. He never really looked in danger in this match against Robertson. 6 half-centuries and a very solid performance was too much to handle, as he has a chance to win back-to-back UKs. He was good. He was good value for this win against Robertson.
He certainly was. He was the better player of the two. I thought Robertson was slightly below par, but only very slightly. I mean, Uh, Trump, again, will say it again, possibly more later on, but you know, he, you know, he had something of a point to prove. You may think he's world number one. Uh, what point has he got to prove? Well, the fact is he hadn't won a title, so this calendar year. Now, I know as Dave Hampton rightly pointed out, it's a bit unfair to compare calendar years. But nonetheless, it was a good performance, and Trump, now that he's finally sorted the Q trouble, would be pleased with that performance, and especially to get one over on Neil, who has been, not one of his great rivals, I think. So he would have enjoyed that as well.
Yes, I think you summed it up perfectly there. He would have wanted one over on Robbo, but I think more than anything, you talk about not winning a trophy this calendar year. I think he had a very sort of good back end to last season from Christmas. Well, he won the UK last year, and then he had a very consistent second half of the season without winning anything. But he made lots of finals. Started this season a little slower, didn't really get out the blocks too well with the new queue, but this is his third final of the season now. So it's been a very overall, you could say it's been a very consistent year without quite picking up the silverware. But I mean, most players would love to have had the calendar year that Judd has had. But when you get to world number one and you've won all that he's won, just getting to the finals isn't quite enough anymore. So yeah, he would be fighting tooth and nail for this title back and another triple crown. But moving on to the second semi-final, which I thought was an absolute belter. Maybe the match of the week for me, Scott. Mark Selby beat Murphy 6-3. This was a Selby masterclass in every department. 2 centuries and 370s was only part of the story, really. Murphy played well himself and barely put a foot wrong, but it was Selby's all-round match play that proved the difference. And the jester seems back to his best, really, after his recent Champion of Champions win, where he beat Judd in that final as well. So played. It was a tremendous semi-final, great to watch, and that kind of match play. It doesn't perhaps suit everyone, but it certainly was. It was brilliant.
Yes, it was absolutely superb that semi-final. He uh, he was absolutely superb that semi-final. He played extremely well, and he played very good, sort of solid match play stuff. So he played. great sort of the standard was superb, but also his level of consistent shot selection, I think, was the thing that struck me. He never played the wrong shot. He might have executed shots badly, but he never actually played the wrong shot. And I think that was the thing that struck me.
Yes, and I think his all-round game, I'm gonna say it now, Scott. Is Mark Selby the best all-round player we've ever seen? I mean, Steve Davis in the 80s was just fantastic. But he admits that he might not have lived if the standard had been as good as it is nowadays. I don't think Stephen Hendry was ever the best all-rounder because his safety was never quite what some of these guys have. I think there was a time when John Higgins had everything. His all-round play was fantastic. And it's very close between John and Mark on the all-time greats list. But the way Selby can switch from tough safety battle, grinding if he needs it, to century after century. I mean, we saw how he finished the Champion of Champions final with 3 tons in a row. When the chips were really downish and he needed his best, he can do it. And you know, some players we associate with power scoring, some players we associate with great safety. Selby really has got everything. He's the complete player.
Yes, he really is. Yes, he's played absolutely brilliant snooker, really from that 2014 World Final. He really has become a bit of a winning machine. Now, I know he went off the boil a wee bit, but he's played absolutely superb and very well deserved. Actually, Kelly, can you take over for a moment?
Sure. So yeah, that was the semi-final, and we then had a final, which we all watched yesterday. Selby against Judd, a repeat of the recent Champion of Champions final. Tremendous stuff. The way Mark started that final to go 5-0 off was just incredible, really. As good as you can play the game, and yeah, just fantastic. Judd didn't do too much wrong, I didn't feel, in that early part. But he did play, he did have a bit of pressure come on. And then from 5-0, Judd did well to get to 5-2, to be fair. But I think Mark slightly went off the boil from 5-0. But it would be very difficult to keep that intensity up as long as, you know, for the whole match, because at 5-0 we were thinking that it could come back to 5. I was thinking it might be end up being a 10-2, 10-3 win if Mark had have kept going the way he was. But yeah, tremendous stuff. Ended 6-2. If Jordan had got to 6-3, 5-3 rather, at the end of the afternoon session, who knows what might have happened at night. But that was such a great frame for Mark to win, to end the afternoon 6-2 up. That we couldn't really, I think it was done then. I think if it had been 5-3, there could have been a difference. But 6-2, I think it was over. As we went into the evening, 7-2, we really did, when Mark won the first frame of the night, we really did think it was over when it went to 7-2. But Judd showed tremendous battling qualities, really. And he wasn't playing badly himself. That was the thing. When he got chances, he was well capable of taking them. But 7-2, it then became 7-5. Now, we had an incident in the final. Free ball, or was it not free ball? Judd was adamant it wasn't a free ball. Olivier called it. I think Selby sort of stayed out of it, but he did have a look himself. He said in his interview on TNT afterwards that he didn't think it was either, but he could see when it was on the screen that it was. I do think there is an element of, I mean, you can say that when he believed that if Judd really believed that it was a free ball, then you've got to stand up, that it wasn't a free ball, rather, then you've got to stand up and fight your corner. But I think there is an element of the referee has to have the final decision. And Olivier Martial, one of the most experienced refs in the game, he stood by his decision because he'd even put a couple of balls there to really check further. And he strongly believed it was a free ball, and I think everybody who saw it on the screens, we could tell it was a free ball, really. But credit to Selby, he didn't take it. He had the balls replaced and put Judd back in again, and he fluked one. Well, what were we all thinking? I mean, even as a Judd fan, I was thinking, oh goodness, if he wins this final now, it's going to be remembered as, for that really. But overall, it didn't affect. I think the interval came at a good time for Mark after all that. I think he needed to go and clear his head a little, get his head straight again, ready for the final outcome, the final frames. And he did well in the end. I think he did whatever he needed mentally in that interval. He was all right afterwards, and he'd never quite let Judd get level with him. I don't think he was at his best, his very best in the last frames. Certainly not how he'd played in the first five. But I mean, it's not every day of the week you can play like that. But yeah, he eventually got over the line 10-8. Was absolutely delighted, and it also breaks this run we've had this season of 11 tournaments, 11 different winners. We've now had 12 tournaments and still 11 different winners because Mark deservedly won this one after winning the Champion of Champions a couple of weeks ago. So I think Judd will be sick of seeing Mark Selby right now, but he was gracious in defeat. He admitted that he was second best on the day, and he probably only got back into the match as much as he did because Mark let him off a bit. So yeah, a 10-8 win for the Jester. He's now a 3 times UK champion, and yeah, so very deserved win there. And we've got you back now, Scott.
Yeah,
So
sorry
we've just
about that.
finished
That
looking
was
back on the final.
that's true, but no, the final was tremendous. I mean, as I was saying at the start there, you know, Selby should have won a lot easier than 10-8, really. You know, I don't like to mention it, but it's sort of like a best in 19 equivalent of 1985, really. One player got far ahead, but then sort of dropped off to such an extent that the other player wasn't able to get back into things. But I
No, and
mean,
I
Selby
think
was
credit to Judd for
absolutely
getting.
brilliant. That's to take nothing away from him, I should say.
Absolutely, and I said, credit to Judd for getting back into it as much as he did, but I think he needed a little bit of help. But yeah, Selby 3 times a UK champion now, his 10th Triple Crown, and he looks as good as he ever did. Really, I know he did drop off a little bit as the evening went on, but I think he's a credit to the game, a credit to himself, and lovely to see Vicky and young Sophia there again to join in the celebrations. And I'm sure it'll be a very good Christmas in the Selby household.
And dear me, isn't she getting tall?
She
Uh,
is. I think I said that a couple of weeks ago when he won in Leicester. But yeah, I think Santa might bring her a couple of extra gifts now after this win. So I'm sure they'll all be having a lovely time, but a lovely family, and you can only
yeah.
be happy for Mark. And Vicky. I know they had a few tough times and health-wise in the last couple of years, but a lovely family unit, and yeah, you can't ever be not happy for them.
I was doing some statistical um, digging this morning, knowing that I was coming on here this afternoon. And it actually turns out that if you look at ranking titles by percentage of finals won, so Ronnie's won 41 out of 65 finals, you know, um, Henry's 36 out of 57, and so on. Selby's actually second behind Steve Davis in percentage terms.
Well, I mean, that's not bad old company, is it? So I'm sure he'll take that. Yeah, there's not a lot more we can say that hasn't been said on the jester. He looked fabulous all week, and we talk about health problems. He's had his own problems in the last couple of years. Mentally, we all know what he's been through, and to see him back winning again now, it really is a joy. I mean, I think I've always said it on here that Judd is one of my very favourites. So I would have liked to have seen him win, but no, that's not against Mark, because against most players, I'd like to see Mark win. He's such a nice guy. In fact, when we got to the final four, I didn't really mind who won, really,
Yeah.
because they're all really good. And yeah, so that was the UK Championship for another year. It's not the only snooker we've had this last a few days. I mean, since our last episode, Scott, we've had Bai Yu Lu, who goes from strength to strength on the women's tour. She won the Women's Irish Open, beating Mink 4-2. And just this weekend as well, just yesterday, we had Jamie Clark winning the latest Q Tour event. So that's back-to-back event wins for him, and he's looking good for a return to the main tour next season now.
Very much so. I mean, he was, I didn't obviously see very much that Q tour event, but I mean, it's a scandal really that Jamie Clark dropped off. I mean, the match I always remember, I was mentioning to you off air, the match I always remember with Jamie Clark was the one where Mark Allen sort of really outscored him at the Crucible one year. It was absolutely superb. Uh, and Jamie played very well in that game as well, of course. So, it's a bit cutthroat, I think, 64. I think Dave Henton said that in the past, but we have the system we have, and he is going very well and he could well be maybe not a tournament winning threat, but he'll certainly give a few top players a few good games if he gets back on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most of us think it that top 64 stay on, and if you're 65th, you could be in danger, you could drop off. I think it is very cutthroat because we've seen, players. I think when Leigh Pei Fan won the Scottish Open last year, I think he was ranked in the 80s. So,
Four
and
he
he
was.
he was sorry.
He was 84th.
84. So it just shows, even if you're that low down, they've all got the ability to do very well indeed. So I do think it's a shame that the cut-off is 64. I know that not everyone from 65 down does fall off, because there'll be some players who are on their first year. There'll be some players who stay on via the 1 year list. So there's lots of different little intricacies. But to think that Jamie Clark, and we've had others before. I mean, I thought Michael Holt, he's been around for a long, long time, but to think that that standard of player could drop off, I do think it's a little harsh. But credit to these guys. David Grace as well, he dropped off a few years ago, but they got on with it, went to Q Tour, and doing very well indeed, looking like getting back on. So and good that we've got a good structured secondary tour now. I know there's not the money in it that there is on the main tour, but this season it's a £6,000 first prize if you win one of the Q tours. So if you do quite well, there is money to be made, and you know Jamie Clark looks all but certain now, unless he breaks an arm or something, he'll be back on tour next season, hopefully.
So yes, as far as cutoffs, I think essentially that you it's I agree that it's too cutthroat, but at the same time, what can you do about it? Nobody's devised a better system, I suppose. So we just have to deal with what we've got.
Well, I think that's the thing, Scott. Until somebody comes up with something better, then yeah, what do you do about it? I think the only answer would be to have more than 128 maybe on the tour, and then the cut-off is maybe 96 or something. But how far do you go with keep adding to the tour? It's you've got players in the lower parts of the rankings who don't really make enough money now. So to have even more on the tour that might not make money, it's a difficult one, isn't it? But we'll see how the next couple of years go, and if they still use this same system. But from our point of view, we've got nothing to complain about because we get to watch top snooker week in, week out, and we're all the grateful for it.
Of course, of course. And speaking of great snooker, we'll bypass a certain tournament that begins on Wednesday, but we'll leave that for the moment. But the Scottish Open starts on the 15th of December, so the last ranking event of the calendar year. I always feel a bit sorry for the Scottish Open because, it's a bit, as I say, the saying goes, a bit after the Lord Mayor's show in a sense, but, it has produced some great moments down the years, and I'm sure it'll be the same in a couple of weeks or in a week's time in Edinburgh.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Everyone says how nice it is to go to Edinburgh at this time of the year, with all the Christmas market. A bit like York, I suppose, at this time of year. The Christmas markets and good snooker to go and watch. If I had the time and the extra money to with all my days, then I think I'd be off to Edinburgh because yeah, lovely city, lovely snooker. Um, couldn't ask for much more in my book. I know a few of the top players probably won't play in it, but all the more chances for the guys that do. And in other home nations, who's to say it won't be somebody else's breakthrough?
3 in a row for Selby, possibly.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think Gary Wilson's got a bit of a love affair with this tournament. He's won it twice, and I thought he looked better, actually. He looked better in recent events, although he did lose in the first round here. But I still fancy someone like Chris Wakeling or someone like that to win one again soon. Who's to say Jack Wazowski, he'll be back for that tournament. There's a lot of players who could win, and who's to say we won't get another new winner on for the season like we had the 11 before. So yeah, looking forward to that one, and I think we'll be back after that tournament, Scott.
Yes, I know it'll be a bit close to Christmas, but that'll be our last episode before the festive period. But I'm sure we'll manage to squeeze in something, and then, Lord willing, early in the new year, we'll be back to sort of preview the Masters. Plus, as we did promise you, to once the class of 92 have all turned 50, we're going to sort of do little reviews of their careers. I know we've been talking about them in various stages of the episodes where they feature, but we're going to sort of do a deep dive as well as a master's preview early in the new year. So that's all ahead of us. But for now, I will say good afternoon to Kelly Barker and thank you for joining with me once again.
Bye, folks. Bye for now.
Bye for now, folks, and happy Christmas to you.